How to track your sales in Excel. Let me show you step by step how to build a simple sales tracker spreadsheet for your business. Let's start with a blank tab. Double click on the name of the tab at the bottom and rename it from Sheet 1 to Sales and Margin. We are first going to put the structure of the Excel sales tracker in place. Let's start with the column headers. Date, sales order, item code, item name, units, price per unit, revenue dollars, cost per unit, cost of goods sold dollars, gross profit dollars, gross profit percentage, shipping, gross profit dollars after shipping, gross profit after shipping percentage. I'm abbreviating some of these in order to get all my columns to fit onto one screen. Let's format the column headers to make them stand out. Select all of them, then click bold. Let's choose a green background. Now let's make some room for the input of the sales line items. For now we use an area where we can input 15 sales line items, but you can obviously go to 100, 1000 or even more. We go to the font menu and apply borders to the section. Let's make the text fit the columns nicely by selecting the whole tab and double-clicking between columns A and B. Let's input the first sales in row 2. On August 6, 2021, we created sales order number 513. I have chosen not to put any further information about the customer, like customer name, customer address and contact information, into this sales tracker spreadsheet. But if you want this in the file, you can simply insert more columns to the right of the sales order column. Select column C and press Ctrl and plus at the same time. Item code is a unique product identifier, a primary key that plays a very important role in the Excel sales tracker. On sales order 513, we sold item code A003, which is an Olympic barbell. We sold 6 units at a price of $125 per unit. Let's pre-format the whole column by selecting all the cells and applying the US dollar format. Here comes the first formula. Revenue equals number of units times price per unit. This is automatically formatted in dollars. The cost per unit is $75. Let's pre-format this whole column as well by selecting all the cells and applying the US dollar format. Cost of goods sold is number of units times cost per unit. Gross profit is revenue minus cost of goods sold. Gross profit percentage is gross profit dollars divided by revenue dollars. Let's pre-format the whole column by selecting all the cells and applying the percentage format. In the shipping column, we can input outgoing shipment charges. In other words, shipping costs from us to the customer if we pay for them. $40 for the sales items in this line. Let's pre-format the whole column by selecting all the cells and applying the US dollar format. We can now calculate the gross profit after shipping costs by taking gross profit and deducting the shipping cost. The last column is gross profit after shipping cost as percentage of revenue. Let's pre-format the whole column by selecting all the cells and applying the percentage format. Let's make the text fit the columns nicely by selecting the whole tab and double-clicking between columns A and B. Let's get our Excel sales tracker ready for some efficiency by putting in a few lookup formulas, so we don't have to retype certain input in each and every line. This is where our unique product identifier, the item code, comes in. Instead of typing each item name for each of the sales order lines, we can look up the item name in the product list table that I prepared ahead of time. Let me show you what that looks like. The tab called Product List has item code, item name, item description, item category, supplier, and item status. Currently only 10 products codes have been assigned, but there is room for more at the bottom. We're going to delete the input in cell D2 of the Sales and Margin tab of the Excel Sales Tracker and input a formula instead. We will insert a formula in the item name column to retrieve the item name from the product list. We will do that with a very useful function called VLOOKUP in Excel. On the Home tab, I like to go to Functions, More Functions, type VLOOKUP, and get to the dialog box that helps you with the function arguments. We want to look up cell C2 with value A003 in the table array of the Product List tab, cells A2 through F21, and then give us the value of the second column from the left. See, here's the Olympic barbell in the preview. Let's log the row numbers in the table array by putting dollar signs in front of the 2 and the 21. Press Enter. We can now drag the formula down to pre-fill the column with the VLOOKUP formula. This will cause the rest of the column to display #NA, as for those rows there is no value in column C yet for which an item name can be looked up. If the NAs bother you, we can fix that by going back to cell D2 and inserting if error, open parentheses, in front of the VLOOKUP formula, and behind it inserting a comma and the text, please enter item code in column C, close parentheses. If you copy this formula down the column, the error disappears. Another place where we can use VLOOKUP to make things easier in the Excel Sales Tracker is the cost per unit column. Instead of having to look this up manually every time, which is prone to errors, we could have a formula look up the cost per unit for us. We're going to delete the input in cell H2 and input a formula instead. VLOOKUP, lookup value cell C2, item code, table array cost per unit tab cells A2 through C11, log the rows with a dollar sign, column index number 3, third column from the left. Just like with column D, let's prepare the rest of column H for VLOOKUP without errors by inserting if error, open parentheses, in front of the VLOOKUP and just a comma and close parentheses at the end. Copy this down the column, and if no item code is available for the row yet, then a 0 is shown. While we are at it, let's copy down the revenue formula, COGS formula, and the gross profit formula. If we copy the gross profit percentage formula, we get an error again, as you're not supposed to divide by 0. So we insert if error, open parentheses at the front, and comma, close parentheses at the end. Gross profit after shipping can be copied down, while the related percentage once again needs the if error treatment. Every column in the sales tracker that uses a formula has now been populated for future use. What I will do now is to highlight the columns where we expect user input into the sales tracker in yellow to make them easy to recognize. That would be date, sales order, item code, units, price per unit, and shipping. We can also add sum totals to the number of units, the revenue, COGS, gross profit, shipping cost, and gross profit after shipping. Let's highlight these in bold. Let's input some more sales line items to see if the file works properly. On August 9, sales order 514, item code A008. We see the item name automatically popping up in column D, and you can recognize why it's nice for the sales tracker spreadsheet to do that for you. 12 units at $79.99 each. Let's check that the cost per unit is correctly retrieved from the cost per unit tab, which is the case. $20 shipping cost for this order. August 10, sales order 515, item code A003, 2 units, $120 each, no shipping cost as they were picked up by the customer. The sales tracker file works nicely, all formulas and lookups operate correctly. We can add a formula to calculate the average gross profit margin percentage. This is equal to the sum of the gross profit dollars divided by the revenue dollars. Let's highlight this in bold, and no Excel, this is not an error. You can't just take the average of the gross profit percentages in column K, but have to calculate the weighted average from the sums. Same story for the gross profit percentage after shipping. With only 3 line items, the data is easy to review and analyze so far. But if you sell more and more, you may want a summary of revenue and margin by item code. Let's build a summary table. We copy over the cost per unit tab. Select the tab by clicking and holding your left mouse button. Press the Control key on your keyboard and place the copied tab on the right. Then rename the tab to Summary. We delete the data in cells C2 through C11 and rename column C to Revenue Dollars. What we want to do here is to calculate the total revenue per item code. Once again, the item code is the linking pin between the different tabs. We go to Functions, More Functions, and type SUMIF. We want to evaluate whether in the range of the Sales and Margin tab, cells C2 through C16, let's lock both columns and rows with a $sign, any cells match the criteria in cell A2. Lock the column with a $sign. In other words, is the item code the same in the Summary tab as it is in the Sales and Margin tab? If that is the case, we want our sales tracker to sum the values in cells G2 through G16, revenue, lock both columns and rows with a $sign. For cell C2, that is not the case, as we did not sell item A001 yet. However, if we copy the formula down the column, we see $990 in cell C4 for item code A003, which is the sum of $750 in cell G2 and $240 in cell G4 of the Sales and Margin tab. In cell C9, we see the same number as in cell G3 of the Sales and Margin tab. Let's add a sum total at the bottom and verify that this is the same number as the sum total in the Sales and Margin tab. Let's use the same process to sum the gross profit by item code. Copy over column C and paste into column D. Rename the column header to gross profit dollars and update the formula in cell D2. Range is fine, criteria is fine, but sum range needs to be changed to column J. Copy over the formula down the rest of column D. Let's quickly check that the summed values are correct. Once that is the case, let's calculate gross profit percentage in column E. Cell C2 equals if error, open parentheses, D2 divided by C2, comma, close parentheses. Apply percentage formatting and copy down the column. This summary tab will serve us well when the business grows and grows, and we quickly want to get insight into the revenue, gross profit and gross profit margin percentage by item code. That's how simple it is to build a sales tracker in Excel. I hope this is useful for you. Let me know if you have any questions or comments.